Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET. I am Hank Phillippi Ryan, and you have found us here on a mighty blaze on Crime Time, and we are so happy to see you today. As I said, I'm Hank Phillippi Ryan, your host, the author of 13 Thrillers, the USA Today best-selling author that I just sent in book 14. We were just talking about that in the green room, and I am so happy about that. My current book, Her Perfect Life, is now an Agatha Award nominee for Best Novel of the Year. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That is also great. But we today have the absolute joy and honor of talking to Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, whose absolutely unbelievably rivetingly good novel, The Golden Couple, is just been released. And you all, it is amazing. I think I'm so smart about thrillers and I can always figure them out. I could not figure this out. I could not turn the pages fast enough. Let me just tell you, Lisa Jewell, who we love, you love Lisa Jewell, right? Calls it an utterly compelling, spellbinding read. The Golden Couple, and wait till you all hear about it. I see Sherry in the comments who is saying, I love your book. If I look over here, I'm looking at the comments, you all. I'm not looking away from you. I'm just seeing what you all are saying. So Sarah and Greer, welcome. Congratulations on this. It is so good. Are you having a good launch?
Very good. I mean, crazy, right, Greer? It's been, in these times, it's been a different kind of launch where we're doing a lot more virtual events. So we're not doing the traveling and all of that, but it's been great because we've been able to connect with so many people through events like this one. I mean, every launch just feels surreal and crazy when you've been waiting for so long. And this book, we've been waiting for 2 years to share with readers. So it's been a dream.
And you're in the DC area, and Greer, you're in Manhattan. So book tours were times that you got to be together. How does it feel, Greer, to be having this great success, but sort of separately?
That's I would say the one downside to all of this is just like, I mean, Sarah and I, we did a lot of flying together, and we would stay in the same hotels, and we would be together celebrating. Like, we would be like waiting for, the bestseller lists, and we'd had like a routine where we'd go to, do our readings and then come back and have like a little snack. And so that's, it's been different. But, our last tour, we were on the road in the middle of COVID, and every day we were calling our, doctors and saying, should we still be out here? It was, March 2020. And finally we had to call it quits midway through for kind of for our safety and our, safety of our audiences. We were in like 3 cities in 3 days. So, but Sarah and I are looking forward to getting together and, doing a big hug and a cheers at some point during this publication.
Well, there is certainly a lot to celebrate for The Golden Couple. If you've all just joined us, we are talking to Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen about their brand new, fantastic psychological thriller, The Golden Couple. I see Anissa is here today, and she is saying a special hello to you. And Sherry is here, and Bozania is here. Everybody is gathering because everyone wants to talk about this book and hear the scoop from you all. Let me just say, I mean, you were just talking about the difficulties of book tour, and now especially things are so grim in the world and so scary and full of strife. And we do want to send our hearts to the people of Ukraine at this time, and sending them strength and power and hope. And it reminds us to kind of count our blessings that we can sit where we are here and talk about books and pick up whatever book we want to read, and know that when a helicopter flies over, it's not dangerous. It's such a joy. So we are really grateful for all that. And if you are here today, you are at Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. A Mighty Blaze was started, this is now going on the 3rd year, by Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt, to keep us together in the pandemic, keep us talking about books, keep us talking about reading, and let us know about fabulous, I almost held it up backwards. The back is nice also. The fabulous The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. And I warned them that I'd be talking for about 30 seconds, and they're just sitting there like, okay, when is it our turn? But let me read you their bios so you know who it is you're talking to. Janine is here saying, I heard Sarah in the back room Sunday night, and it was great, Sarah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I had a blast.
We did too. We totally did too. I'll tell you all about the back room if you don't know, but let me tell you about Greer and Sarah first. Greer Hendricks is the #1 New York Times bestselling co-author of The Wife Between Us. And you all read that, didn't you? That was phenomenal, life-changing book for all of us. An Anonymous Girl, How Do They Keep Doing It? You Are Not Alone, and The Golden Couple, all amazing novels. Prior to becoming a novelist, she obtained her master's degree in journalism at Columbia, and spent 2 decades as editor at Simon & Schuster. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times, Allure, Publishers Weekly, and other publications. She lives in Manhattan with her husband and 2 children. And I hear dogs, which is why you are in the conference room.
Yes, and 2 spirited dogs who I'm hiding from.
They know where you are. They know.
Yeah, they do.
And Sarah Pekkanen is the #1 New York Times bestselling author, of course, co-author with Greer Hendricks of 4 novels of suspense, as I just listed, and the internationally and USA Today bestselling author of 8 solo novels. A former investigative journalist and award-winning feature writer, her work has been published in numerous national magazines and newspapers. She lives just outside of Washington, D.C. with her family. I lived in Washington, D.C. for years. I worked on Capitol Hill, and I worked for Rolling Stone magazine for a while. So we should talk about our Washington, D.C. days. So I want to talk about marriage and truth and therapy and readers' expectations and how you write. And I want to congratulate you on giving us a novel that we cannot discuss in any way. I mean, I just can't say anything about it. Let me ask you then to tread these dangerous waters, Sarah or Greer, whoever wants to go first, and just tell us a little bit about what this book is about.
Yeah, well, we can do a little 2-part, spiel about the book, which won't give anything away. So The Golden Couple is the story of a maverick therapist. It's set in DC, and this therapist named Avery has her own method. It's a very unconventional method. She does not play by anybody's rules. And in fact, she's such a maverick that she has lost her license to practice. But her method is a 10-session process. And she believes that when a client walks through the door, she assesses them. And if she knows she can fix them in her 10-session process, she will take them on. But the catch is they have to do whatever she says.
Okay, so then here's my part. We're in Walk. So it's told in from both Avery's perspective and Marissa Bishop's perspective. And we one little caveat, we named her Marina for most of the whole time we wrote it. We called her Marina, and then at the last minute changed it to Marissa. So if I slip up, Sarah will correct me. But so Marissa Bishop brings her husband Matthew to see Avery, and he thinks they're going there to discuss their 8-year-old son, Bennett, who's been bullied at school. And this is not spoiling anything when I say that within the opening pages, Marissa says, actually, we're here because I cheated on you. And it's like a bomb has exploded in the therapist's office. And Matthew, needless to say, is completely surprised. And the couple decides to engage Avery to try to help them with their marriage. And then it goes from there.
So much to unpack in just that beginning. You all were talking about The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. Don't go right now and buy it because I want you to hear from Greer and Sarah, but please do after this if you love this kind of novel, and of course you do not want to miss this. Also, because we are giving away a copy of The Golden Couple to one lucky listener. So leave comments in the chat in order to win. That's how you enter. Ask a question, leave general applause. Tell Greer and Sarah how much you love their other books and can't wait to read this one. Where did they get the idea? How did they do their research? All that kind of stuff. Just put it in the comments. We'll also be asking questions when we get to the end of our interview. How did this particular book start?
Oh, it started with the title.
It started
The Golden Couple are brilliant, and that's the first time a book for us has started this way. But we have a brilliant editor named Jennifer Enderlin. She called us one day and said, I have a great title, and I cannot believe it's never been used. You guys can write a book around this, I'm sure. The Golden Couple. And we just thought, great title, like game on, let's have at it. So we started thinking, and we do our walk and talks every morning, and we began thinking The Golden Couple. Of course, nobody is really a golden couple. We all see those Instagram relationships where, everything's perfect and it's always date night and the kids are perfect and the house is perfect. There are no money worries, but we also know that every couple has vulnerabilities. And then we thought, how could we get to know this couple as intimately as if we're getting to read their nightstand journals and we're getting to peer in on their private conversations? Who could get to know them well? A family member, maybe a private investigator, a police officer, a therapist. We kind of went through a lot of different roles, and we love writing about therapy.
Yes.
We've done that in books before. So we're like, a therapist, ding dong, let's go. So that's how it began.
Yeah, this is our sweet spot. It's our sweet spot of writing. We love writing about complicated relationships, especially complicated marriages. So, for any of your viewers who read The Wife Between Us, we tackled that. And then an Anonymous Girl also featured a therapist, a very different kind of therapist, the mysterious Dr. Shields. And then pretty quickly, we came up with this 10-session method. And I think what's so compelling about that, what we keep hearing, is that who wouldn't want to go to a therapist? And, all those years and years that you spend analyzing, your dreams and your childhood. Well, you've got Avery here who's going to break it all down for you, 10 sessions, as long as you give her access to, your whole life. And, a boss, a mother, whatever it is, and she's there. So I think it's just been very compelling for people. It's certainly interesting, for us to explore.
And it's so timely and contemporary because we all want something fast. We all want things to be fixed. We all want our problems to be solved. And it's you create this wonderful balance of how much would you give up? How much of your personal stuff would you give up to get what you want? And of course, everybody in the book wants something else. Do you think about that as you write? What does someone want and how far will they go to get it?
Absolutely. And one of the things we love to do is we put ourselves in our characters' shoes a lot as we're walking and talking. And we think, would you go through this therapy not knowing how it's going to end up? Everything could be disruptive. Your life could look very different or not. You don't know what the end result is going to be. You're just going to know the truth about whatever issue has been plaguing you. So we love to talk about all of that. My dog is joining in. I don't know if you can hear her. I think it's mailman time.
She loves to talk about it too.
Yeah, she does. She's saying she needs therapy, and I would actually wholeheartedly agree. But yeah, we just have tons of fun talking about this stuff and thinking about, kind of the cost benefit for our characters and what they're really after and what's at stake for them and what is the most important to them.
And Greer, the idea of making her a maverick therapist, someone who's lost her license, makes the whole thing so much more risky. Julie is saying that that therapist was deliciously creepy, and that she must have done something wrong, and yet these people are still trusting her.
Well, we wanted the stakes to be high for all of our characters, right? There's something, again, not giving anything away, that, she's walking into her home and she's got lots of security measures in place. So that there's something that's, that she's got something to lose all along as well. And that's what's fun. I mean, Sarah and I, our two favorite words are what if. And we just, go back and forth saying, well, what if this and what if that? And then I'm glad that, the commentator said she's deliciously creepy, because we spend a lot of time trying to kind of egg each other on to, up the stakes on what, how we can ratchet up the suspense. And it's just, an enormous amount of, fun.
Well, it's interesting because I want to ask about the structure of the book, because it's such a page turner and moves along so quickly, and you cannot wait to find out what's going to happen. We're talking about The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. Don't forget to leave a comment to enter to win this novel. But even the 10-step process that the therapist Avery has moves the story forward. The stakes get higher and higher and higher. I don't think it'll give anything away if you talk about what some of the 10 steps are. And how did you come up with that?
So then again, we have to give some credit to our editor, because she named the 10 sessions. We had the idea of like a 10 session, we wanted it kind of contained, and therapy is sort of, by definition, it just kind of can go whenever. It can go for years and years. We wanted it to be like a very crisp, kind of timeline. And so when we turned it in, our editor said, name every session. And then she gave us a list of names: confession, disruption, like escalation, all of these, and they were all spot on. And that was just absolutely brilliant. So it always begins with the confession. But the confession, the confession can fit any number of problems that come in the door. So it's really like the truth that you're telling, that is the confession.
But again, structurally, Greer, those steps fit so perfectly into the rising action of how a novel has to go. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse and scarier, and the stakes get higher and higher and higher as you go. And it's also a really cool way of letting the reader know, okay, here comes another cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, we did have a lot of fun with that. I mean, I think the great thing about it is, I mean, the confession, when you think about anyone going into therapy, that, the therapist, in a traditional therapeutic environment is like, what brings you here today? And most of the time that is, right, some kind of confession, whether it's actually the truth, or just what the, patient or client thinks is the truth. And that's, one of Avery's jobs, is to figure that out for all of her patients. But Sarah and I spent a lot of time thinking, would this 10 session method work for any of the characters? We don't get a lot of insight into her other clients, but you do meet a few of them. And would it work for all of them? And it had to, because it couldn't be like, I mean, it is made up, but it had to feel authentic. So we spent a lot of time thinking about that.
Oh, it completely feels authentic. It's absolutely wonderful. Now I go through life thinking, ooh, escalation when something happens.
Disruption.
Have you? Yeah, exactly. And so it is a way, it's so logical and so believable and so wonderful. But the whole idea of a therapist and a marriage and a relationship and a friendship and any kind of a collegial or employer-employee relationship, all of which you look at so gorgeously in this book, are so based on trust. And you so beautifully just pull the rug out from under people. Talk a little bit about writing that. Just the uneasiness that you put into people's lives when it's what they're going after, that relies on them to give up something.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of fits the title. Like, the golden couple looks a certain way. The image is this beautiful, untarnished image. That's not true for all of us. And a lot of us kind of go through life in a way, like maybe doing a little bit of that to a smaller extent. We're going to put the best picture of ourselves up on social media. We're going to, run into a friend at the grocery store. How are you? Oh, everything's great. My kid's having a great time in college. You're maybe not going to mention, oh, this terrible thing happened and I'm worried about this, and one of my parents is sick, and you're not going to bring up kind of the real things that you're carrying around. So I think just getting at that truth is crucial for us. We want to see it with our characters, and we know readers want to see it too, because hearing about issues that we're struggling with, there's like a universality to this, and it connects us. And one of the things we do as writers is we need to connect with our readers. We need you to be in this story with us and living it with us. So you have to trust us that we're telling you the whole story, everything that's going on with our characters.
I mean, Greer, you talk about in the novel, you have Avery say, don't tell me your Instagram picture of your life.
Yeah.
Tell me your real life. And one of the things I love about this book and all of your books is that the women, especially, the women in these books are people that we could be and know. This could happen to us. Is that important to you all?
I mean, 1,000%. When Sarah and I first set out to start writing together, we went to our bookshelves and pulled down our favorite books over the past 2 years. And probably unsurprisingly, there was a lot of overlap. And our favorite books all featured relatable female characters. And that doesn't mean that they're all, nice or likable, but they're relatable, because that was really important to us. And they were all psychological. We both have backgrounds in journalism and psychology. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about the truth of our characters. And there's, in every story, right, there's one, if there's two people, there's, one person's version, the other person's version, and then the truth, which is, somewhere, some messy place in between. And that is a theme that we have explored in all of our books.
And I want you to know that everybody is saying, Janine is here and Sharon is here. Sharon is saying the golden couple can have so many meanings. And there are not just one golden couple in the book. And I love that as well. And you were saying when we started writing together, and I realized that I should ask you, how did you start writing together? It seems like you're such a seamless team. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, this is, every couple has an origin story, and I think Sarah and I just love talking about ours. So, I mean, the short version is that, as you mentioned in my introduction, I was a book editor for 20 years at Simon & Schuster, and I acquired Sarah's debut novel. I loved it, and her agent took her around to meet with a lot of editors, and I persevered, and I acquired it, and we worked together on seven of her 8 solo books. And we became really close. We had very similar narrative instincts. We had a number of uncanny similarities. We both, as I said before, had studied psychology and journalism. We were both the same age. We were both terrible cooks. So we got really close. And when I left corporate publishing, in the back of my mind, I wanted to write, but that's a really scary thing. Well, at least was for me, to admit to people, because it makes you really vulnerable. And what if you can't do it? But, like I said, Sarah and I got close, and we were talking, and I said to her, I'm thinking of trying to write. And, would you ever could I bounce ideas off you? Would you ever, would you be kind of open to just, I don't know, kind of being a sounding board for me? And she said, yes. And then she said, what about if we wrote a book together?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
Sarah, that quickly, that idea bloomed in your mind?
I mean, it's funny because I almost feel like we must have mentioned it at one point, along the way. Like, we knew a lot of female duo writers, like Liz and Lisa, right? Liz Fenton and Lisa Steinke, and some others. So, and as a journalist, I had collaborated with many different writers on magazine and newspaper stories. I always loved it. Greer and I got along so well, and we're both very collaborative, and it was a very kind of gut driven. When I get a really strong gut instinct, I tend to go with it. And when she was talking about maybe I'll bounce around ideas, I was like, well, let's just do it together. Like cut out the the middle step. Let's just come up with the ideas and do the writing together. And so it just, as soon as I said it, I knew it was right. I'm like, this is going to be great, and plus we're going to have so much fun together. I knew I was going to be very sad when Greer left as my editor, because we talked a lot. We didn't just talk about work. We would go out for 3-4 hour dinners, and we would say, we're taking off the author editor hat, we're putting on the friend hat, and we're going to talk about our lives and our our parents and our kids and our hopes and our dreams and our fears. And we would shut down restaurants. I think people hated us because we would just be sitting at a table for hours. So it just felt like the natural extension. Let's just do something creative together now.
It's just so magical and mystical how the world works. Greer makes a decision and it happens to be you that she tells, and then you have this good idea. I almost get goosebumps about it. But you were talking about, and I was thinking as you both were talking, the editor, I'm pointing to, you can't tell, the editor-author relationship, excuse me, is different from the co-author relationship. It's a different sort of balance of, I don't want to say power, but influence. How did you undo that to become sort of equals? Because, and also the book is so seamless. There's not like Greer is the dialogue person and Sarah is the plot person, or the other way around, whatever it would be. It's seamless. How do you actually work together?
I mean, I think a lot, and like you're saying, a lot of co-authors actually divide up chapters or take on different characters. And we decided early on that we wanted to write every line together. And then, of course, the question for us, or the challenge for us, was that Sarah's in DC and I'm in New York. And how do you even do something like that? My daughter, who was then 13, was like, hey, mom, there's this like technology called Google Docs and Google Hangouts. And so she set us up. I mean, it seemed like magic to us that we could be both looking at the same screen and see words come across. There was never that was not a transition for us in terms of the editor author relationship. I mean, that was not, I mean, very early on. I mean, I think I felt like I was, getting like a master class in learning how to write a book. I'd never written a book before. I mean, I'd edited hundreds of books. I'd written a couple of articles, but like I had no idea. So, and Sarah didn't wield that over me like power either. So we were both just, I was like,
I think we both went into it just like open hearts. And, it was also at a time of our lives where Greer was like, I am stepping down from a very safe, comfortable job as an editor. And I've had this job with the same company for 20 years. And I was like, I have a contract, with Simon and Schuster for books. And, I know I can keep doing that, but I am going to, take a break and, write with you. And so we were both taking these big leaps, like what if it didn't work out? And so we just kind of held hands and jumped, and we're like, we're women, we're, women of a certain age, and we're just going to do this together and let's see what happens. But I think without the other, we would not have the courage to have done this.
Caitlin saying, sounds like quite the serendipitous union. Welcome, Caitlin, and welcome to all of you. I love that you say you went into it with open hearts, with sort of hope and reliance on each other, which is lovely and touching. Do you go into the book the same way? Sort of anything can happen, or do you sit and make outlines with each other? Do you have the whole plot laid out before you start, or you just say, let's just see what happens?
No, I mean, we talk for many weeks and months before we start writing. And each book has kind of come about in a different way, but that talking has been a part of each one. And then, we think, we know where we're going, but we're not serious plotters. We try to, maybe have like some kind of an outline in our head. I mean, each one again has been a little bit different, but I would say we're somewhere in between that plotting and, and the pantsing. It's a lot of talking. Even each day before writing a scene, we'll talk endlessly about the scene because we're both really visual. So we want to be able to really see the scene before we even sit down to start the writing.
That's so interesting because it is so visual and so cinematic, and I can really see the story in a movie unfolding as it goes on. But Sue Grafton used to talk about this, Sarah, that she would sit down every day to write her scene of the day, and she would think about what the intent of the scene was. What is the point of this, and where are we going? Is that sort of how you think of it?
We think about that, but we add also another element. What is the most interesting thing that could happen? What is the thing that's going to make this scene grip you? And we do that with every single scene. When we're done writing one, we're like, what is the next most interesting thing that could happen?
Wow, talk about a masterclass. That is really. I'm writing this down to think about this, because the thing about writing a book like The Golden Couple. I mean, look at all of your readers who are here today. I have to stop to say Bozenia, who is such a stalwart of crime time, and we love her, says, are you the golden couple then? Is there anything you find challenging in your work partner? Okay, Bozenia, I will have you ask that.
Well, we do have our golden couple necklaces. So Greer had these made for us. And every year on my birthday, she orders new charms. And each charm, I don't know how well you can see it, has a different colored stone. There's blue for the wife between us, which matches the color, red for an anonymous girl. And the latest one is gold for the golden couple. So it's kind of cool. We have like a physical representation of our work together.
I said to Sarah, the joke that we had is that, she suggested we write together, but I'm the one who put the ring on it.
Oh,
So, yeah,
it's the nicest. That is the loveliest thing.
it's really fun. I don't have my necklace on because it's actually being repaired, but we're not going to read too much into that.
Well,
So
eventually that's going to get very, very heavy because they're
I
coming out.
know it is because there's a lot of charms on there. So, yeah. So, I mean,
I love that.
yeah.
I
And
love
I
that you
think,
put a ring on it. That's great. That's quite
yeah.
hilarious. Classic,
I-
classic. But um, thinking about the golden couple, now I'm imagining your necklace. Thinking about the golden couple, all of your readers who have read all of your books, or even some of your books, know that they're smart. Your readers are smart. And they know what kind of books you write, and they know that you're going to surprise them a lot. And so they're looking for that. How is it to write sort of in that cat and mouse game where almost there's a reader's point of view as well, where the reader is trying to figure it out?
Yeah,
Well,
it's definitely a balance constantly. And, with The Wife Between Us, for example, we had readers read a draft, and some of them said, I saw that first twist coming from a mile away. So we rewrote it. And they said, I'm so confused. What just happened? Like, it took us a while to get to that sweet spot because when you're writing it, you just don't have the perspective. You really need that outside opinion of, did I hit it right where you were surprised, but when you looked back, you realized, oh, this was inevitable.
And so that is the perfect place to go. Go ahead, Greer.
I was just going to say that. And the other things, we really are very careful. We will never cheat the reader. Like, there's nothing in there. If you look back, there's never going to be a clue or something that was like, even in The Wife Between Us, we have Richard in one point and he's using a BlackBerry because it's in a different time period. I don't want to give anything away, but we're very, very careful that everything is true and honest, even though there's a bit of trickery up our sleeves.
And I think it's interesting because from when I was reading The Golden Couple, and one of the things that happens as a reader, when you turn into being an author, you read a book a different way. I mean, I'm trying to deconstruct your book as I go and see how you did it. I even did a TEDx talk about how I sometimes read the last page of books first, and then I go back to the beginning to see how it was done. It's just sort of it's educational. Don't do it, you all. Do not do that. Do not do that. Please don't. But when I went back, as you said, and sort of checked to see whether your book was fair, it was so gaspingly good. I mean, even reading it, looking through it a second time made the book even better because all that sleight of hand that you do is so fair. And I just thought, oh, I should have seen this. Oh, I should have seen this. But it's all about perspective from the reader. But again, Sarah, you were talking about how in your first book, which was so blockbuster, The Wife Between Us, life-changing novel, you tweaked and polished. How do you think about that now that you have hit it out of the ballpark every time? And this has become a Greer and Sarah trademark. Not really twists. It's really perspective.
And that's exactly it. You nailed it. We love talking about psychology. We love subscribing to Psychology Today, listening to podcasts. And we love thinking about the many ways in which perspective shapes everything. And, for example, if you, called a friend, reached out to a friend you hadn't talked to in a while today, and she was brusque with you, you could make up a story in your mind. She doesn't like me. God, what did I do? Did I not return her call? And you're going to be creating stories. If you find out later, her husband left her that day, then you create a whole new story. You're going to remember different details. And so our minds are so malleable. They're like almost their own things. And that is just endlessly fascinating, the stories we even tell ourselves.
And it also, Greer, has to do with readers' expectations. When you read about a person who's described as this or read about a person who's described as that, I'm not going to say anything. You expect a thing of that. You expect what the story is going to be because your readers are smart. And so you're playing against that sometimes a little bit in some ways.
Absolutely. And we think about that endlessly about what's the reader going to be, thinking and assuming, and wanting to take them along on a ride, but again, have it also be really true to the character. You can't just throw something in there that, doesn't make any sense. So we know everything about our characters. I mean, tons of things that aren't on the page, but we've talked about, where they grew up or what they ate for breakfast, or, things that inform the decisions that they, make on a daily basis. And that's, so much of the fun. But Sarah and I also, we say, we have one brain at this point when it comes to storytelling, but it takes both of our brains to keep track of all these twists and turns because they're complicated. It's tricky. We have we have note cards, and, for our book, like You Are Not Alone, we have different colored note cards for each character and plotting out the timeline versus it's, it's not easy. I don't know how you do it by yourself, Hank, but it's complicated, right?
It's very complicated. It's sort of like a Rubik's Cube puzzle that you click, 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 and say, what if it's this? How could this be something else? What if I flipped this the other way? What if I turned it the other way? And suddenly you see, if you're lucky, you think, oh, that's what this is. That's what this really is. I love that. And I don't know the ends of my books either. And I get there the same way you do, although I wish I had sometimes a partner to call and say, what if it was this? Or what do you think about this? But your relationship with the fabulous Jennifer Enderlin, who is, just iconic, must have made such a difference. And my editor Kristen makes a wonderful difference. As well. We have so many questions, and I'd love to take some questions. If you have a couple minutes to stick around for questions, remember there's a little bit of time now, about 7 minutes, to put in a question, put in a comment for Greer and Sarah, and perhaps win a copy of The Golden Couple. Lynn, hey Lynn, welcome, is saying, what was it like to be working with an editor after you no longer were one? Oh, that's a great question.
It's I was so grateful. Everyone always thinks that, it'd be hard to be edited, but I mean, Jen, like you said, when we were selling our book, there were, a short list of editors that I really dreamed would be interested in our book. And Jen was at the top of that list. And so when she acquired it, Sarah and I we were euphoric, and she's incredible. And many editors are, will tell you what's wrong, and we'll say, fix this here or there. But she, as you've heard from Sarah and I, is such an additive editor. She finds, things that will make your book even better. It's been incredible.
It's interesting too. My editor, I'll tell you this, Kristen Sevick, once called me and said, I was working on a different book, not this one. And she said, I have an idea, sit down. I've read your first draft. I said, oh, okay. She said, maybe you want to get some wine. On this career, I know. And she says, what if X person in your book, who is a man, was a woman? What would that do to your novel? And I just sat there and I thought, oh my golly, you are so right. And that, she had this vision of a thing that I never would have seen, but it's all about making your book better.
Yes.
You feel like a team. I know you did Greer before as an editor with your authors. Is that how you feel now as well?
1,000%. I worked closely with a lot of my authors prior to writing, and I loved that relationship. And I think, I think editors get a hard rap these days. A lot of people say editors don't edit, but that's not my experience. I'm still friends with a lot of people in the industry, and they are such hardworking, caring, they're not doing this at their office. They're doing it at nights and on the weekends. And they're not getting the glory. It's not their name, on the cover. They get an acknowledgement in the back. So editors are the best. And our publishing house, just to give a shout out, because we just have to say, our publishing team has done such an extraordinary job at The Golden Couple, and they pour their heart and soul into promoting this book. And Sarah and I are grateful, so grateful for them.
They're incredible. And I just want to show this. Our dedication is for Jen Enderlin, our editor, because, she's such an integral part, of every stage of the publishing process. She sketched the cover for The Wife Between Us.
Oh.
And then gave it to the graphic designer to create the cover. She comes up with title, like, she caught something in The Golden Couple that nobody else caught that would have torpedoed the book. We flipped a name, and we used a name in a place very early on we shouldn't have, that would have given away such a big twist. And Jen was like, no, you can't do this. And we're thinking, like, how does your brain hold so much? Like, how do you do all of this? She's unbelievable.
After this, we're going to talk, because I really want to hear about what you changed. I'd love to know. And someone was asking why you changed Marina. Why did you change?
Oh gosh, it's just all along she felt like a Marina, but then we have a character named Skip, and then we had a whole scene set at a marina, at a port, and it just seemed kind of hokey, and I just didn't. It would, So we did. We had to, it was really at the last minute. So
it's getting very nautical.
Yeah, it seemed very nautical, and I wondered when you said that whether that scene was a result. My new book has a character who always was Ailsa, which I thought was lovely. And my editor finally said, no, her name is Alyssa. So I always talk about her as Ailsa, but now she's Alyssa. So I know the deal. What other questions do we have? Which is more exciting, says Sully. Hi, Sully. Which is more exciting, starting your book together or finishing it? Another great question.
Great question. I would say it's exciting to finish it. Like those last few scenes when you're like, oh my God, it's all coming together, and the finish line is in sight, and that is thrilling. Absolutely.
I feel like the whole process is really equally exciting, because sometimes in the middle, even the drudgery of the middle, but we'll make a connection that we didn't know was there, and we get like shivers, like, oh my God, we're really smart. We didn't even know how smart we were, that we were weaving XYZ in. So it's a hard question. The whole thing is great.
Isn't that so much fun when you realize that the reason something's there, you put it in sort of randomly, the dog or a phone call or anything, and then later it becomes this pivotal thing. What goes through your mind, Sarah, about that, about the magic?
I truly think that is the subconscious at work. I think you're putting a little pin in that, and something about that is sticking with you. And while you're sleeping and out running to the grocery store, your mind is working away on that problem. And it is like a gift. It's like, here you go, I've done this for you. And you get it, and you think, did I plan that? Like, we've tried to replace it. Did we plan that? How did that work? And I think it's the subconscious. It's one of the most exciting things about writing.
Do you think so, Greer, too? Is that how you feel about it? I mean, as an editor, you were looking at others' works.
No, 1,000%. I mean, I think that especially I think about it a lot, especially with our first book, The Wife Between Us, where one of our characters who we loved the most was this character, Aunt Charlotte, who's going blind. And then we also were working on the scene where the Nellie is her husband gives her a dog, and he gives her a German Shepherd, and all of a sudden, like, it all comes together, like seeing eye dogs, and this whole idea about different lenses and perspective, and it gives me chills just even now, just thinking about how we came up with all this.
No, I agree. I got chills as well too. When everything comes together and seems to fit, that is just so fantastic. Congratulations, you two. We probably have a million more questions. Is there any? Do we have one more? Okay, what are you working on now? Oh, Janine with the Penguins. What are you working on now that the Golden Couple has published? Besides all the adoration and adulation and standing ovations.
Yeah, so I actually am finishing up a solo book for the same editor and publisher that will be out next year. Working title, When I Disappear.
Well, will you come back to Crime Time and talk about that?
I would love to.
I cannot wait to read that. Greer, congratulations.
I'm also working on a solo project, going a little more slowly, but also super excited about it as well. And then we're under contract together for another book, another collab, but we both had kind of ideas that we wanted to explore individually.
Wow, you both are working, your brains are just going a million miles an hour. So I'm so eager to read each of your books and both of your book. And I know that all of you readers here who have been here today and all of your fans who have been here today are equally awaiting all three of those. So we hope you'll come back and talk about that. Look, let's post what Janine said about that. Janine says, Margaret, are you seeing what Janine says? She says, yay. Oh, yes.
Aw.
That is so nice. We'll take a picture of that, Janine. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine.
That is how we're all feeling. Congratulations, you all, on the Golden Couple. And let's see what the Wheel of Fun, you'll love this, what the Wheel of Fun has in store for you. Who's going to win the Golden Couple? Let's do the drawing. Yay!
All right.
Sharon Carlson person, wonderful, who is truly a fan of Crime Time and truly one of your fans, as I well know. So congratulations, Sharon, on winning the Golden Couple, you lucky woman. So just email us and we will get you this book. Sarah and Greer, standing ovation. I see that your book is #1 in its category on Amazon. That's so great. You're such rock stars. Congratulations on this. Are you happy?
Thank you.
Oh, that's overwhelming. Thank you, and so kind. I mean,
well, we've loved having you here, and we loved, thank you for writing a book that we absolutely cannot discuss. So thank you for being here today and putting up with all of us. Let me quickly tell you all before you go, next Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET, we will have The Lying Club by Annie Ward. This is so intriguing and so propulsive. You can see I'm up to here now in it. So I know it's fantastic and unputdownable, as all of our books are here on Crime Time. The books we really don't want you to miss, just like The Golden Couple by Sarah Pekkanen and Greer Hendricks. And we thank you all for being here today. So until next time, please take care of yourself. And remember, it is always safe inside a book. Thank you so much for being here.